You're listening to City of Muses on Paris Underground Radio. Welcome back to City of Muses on Paris Underground Radio. I'm your host, Jennifer Garrity. I'm a screenwriter, filmmaker, and the creator and founder of the Paris Underground Radio podcast network. Each week, I sit down with an artist or creative to talk about what inspires them, what their creative process is like, and how Paris plays into it all. Have you ever wondered if telepathy is real? Does magic exist? Can the future be predicted? Can a complete stranger read your mind? Well, my guest this week is mentalist, coach, and actor Fabrice Ferra, who has been performing in stage shows all over the world, astounding audiences with his mind-reading capabilities. In the lead-up to his new show, Mentalism à la Parisienne, which opens in English in Paris on March 30th, I sit down with Fabrice to discover where his abilities come from, if some minds are more readable than others, and whether you need to be as charming as Omar Sy in Lupin to be a successful mentalist. Hello, Fabrice. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Hello, Jennifer. Thank you for having me. It's exciting to be with you today.
I'm really looking forward to our conversation. Before we jump in, can you tell our audience who you are and what you do?
Yes, sure. I'm Fabrice Ferra. I'm a mentalist, a coach, a trainer, an actor, etc., because we are several in my mind, so it's good to be hyperactive.
Okay, so what is a mentalist?
A mentalist is a performer using the most captivating form of entertainment around supernatural, intuitive, or psychological abilities. Imagine reading minds, predicting the future, influencing behaviors. So it's very impressive for people and for myself too, because I'm still amazed about what happens on stage. So I guess it's playing with thoughts, perceptions, and loving mysteries. From my side, it's real magic. It's fascinating. And it's a journey about the human mind and trying to play with the boundaries between the impossible and the possible things.
So how did you discover this as an actual thing?
Joker, how do you say that in English? Just kidding. Suspense. I guess it's a fusion of different elements. I have always had a passion for the human mind, mysteries, understanding people. That's why I became a coach. And curiosity is my compass. And I guess it's from my childhood. So now that you're asking for it, I've got the answer maybe. I didn't have it before. It's like coming back to my childhood where my mother was used to call me Mr. Y because, yeah, I had millions of questions for myself and for other people, like why turtles don't have glasses, kind of, this kind of question. Now, maybe the question would be more like, is the speed of thought faster than the speed of light? Or what's the nature of consciousness? Something a little bit more adult than before. And when I was a child, I was a dreamer. And for me, it was like no limits, like the superheroes of the comics. And by the way, yes, maybe being a mentalist now came from the superheroes I discovered in the comics. I remember one comic, especially called Strange. I don't know if you heard about it, the superheroes. I discovered the superpowers. They had telekinesis powers, telepathic powers. You've got the X-Men with Professor Xavier. He's a telepath. So I guess unconsciously, it was the first seed in my mind when I was little. I liked a magician too called Mandrake. He has an hypnotic power and telepathic power too. So I guess the two of them helped my mind to decide that maybe one day I will try to do that in life. I started magic around 8-9 years old. I was fascinated by magic. I was a kid and I was in a boarding school too to become a professional soccer player. And I spent so many nights and days there without seeing my family. So the weekends also. And I discovered unbelievable books in the library there. And I discovered my first books about tarots, esoteric stuff, like palm reading, astrology, graphology. And I was super focused and super obsessive with this new world I was discovering. So that's another step in my mystery discovery. And one book struck my mind too. It was The Power of the Mind from Joseph Murphy. And it was the declencher in my mind for starting experimenting. And because I had my friends around, a lot of nights we were like going out of bed and trying to experiment what I had read and share with them. And it was a lot of, oh my God, I can't believe that really happened. Another step was when I was an actor and how I became a mentalist, because I discovered other stuff, of course. And I wanted to combine, after many years of magic, pure magic with tricks, I wanted to share with people what real magic were, because my mind shifted. I was not a kid anymore. And I discovered a lot of things about the human brain, mind, etc. Coming back to Hermes, the Egyptian, and because the laws of mentalism come back from that period first. So it's the ancestor of personal development, actually, like the universe is mental and all is mind and mental. So yeah, I wanted to combine my two passions, theater and magic, but the real one. So mentalism was very obvious, combining the two of them. That's how I became a mentalist and exploring psychology. And mentalism emerged, as I said, like a fusion of all those elements.
It's really interesting. It's a way to keep that childlike magic and imagination alive throughout your life, because, do you feel like you've got the mysteries of the universe solved now?
Beep. If I tell you the secret, I will have to do something about it.
You don't have to tell me what it is, just whether you know it.
Not the secret. Maybe some secrets. Of course, not all of them, because I guess mystery is the best and the most incredible form of stimulation. When you don't know about something, you really want to know, you dig, you explore. I feel like the Indiana Jones of the mind. Like, I have to find out things, and I'm going to experience and find things, maybe not what I was looking for. But of course, the experience is always very good, and I'm grateful for having them and sharing them with the audience, because it's one thing to experience yourself and grow and amaze yourself, and after that, sharing this with an audience. It's very grateful, as I said, and a nice feeling.
Yeah. It's funny. We often ask each other the question, like, if you could have any superpower, which superpower would you have? But I feel like I either I know your answer, or you have to have a completely different answer now. It can't be mind reading.
Actually, the superpower I would like to have right now, because we're talking right now and we have to focus on the present moment. It's very important to seize the moment in life. I would go with controlling time.
Oh, that's a very good one.
Because you could come back, in time, see people you would like to see, people you knew before, people you didn't know, but you would have loved to know, like 1,000 years ago, or just like 10 years ago, whatever. You could change events, maybe. That will be maybe time paradox. When experts can say more than me about that, but yes, traveling in time, controlling time, stop time, slow down time, everything related to time. Yeah. I guess that would be my answer for today and for right now.
I understand that. There was a television show that I used to love when I was growing up. It was I don't know if they had it here in France, but it was a little girl, and her father was an alien. So she had like some alien powers. And the power that she had, maybe it was just the one, is that when she touched her two fingers together, time would stop.
Let me try for a sec. Let's see if it's going to happen.
I think
oh my God, it worked. Thank you, Jennifer.
No, but she would do it it was silly things at the time where she had to study for a test that she hadn't studied for, so she'd freeze time to study. And I just thought how useful that would be in real life, especially since I'm the kind of person who likes to do everything all the time. And so if I could just stop time to sleep, then I wouldn't waste any time when I was awake, and I would love that.
Wow. Very nice. I like that thought. I guess it's going to come back to my mind very often.
You are welcome to it.
And yours, I would like to know. What would be your superpower? Maybe you've got already one or several, but...
I think the time one is very interesting to me. It isn't something that I had thought of before, although I have thought about that stopping time a lot. For me, I think when I was younger and more perhaps evil, I would have said mind control. But now maybe it would be something more like mind reading. I think that's really interesting.
Yes, it's a fascinating world. We've got around 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts a day, depending on the people, depending on your state of mind, how your work and body react. Imagine 80,000 thoughts, and most of them are unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
So my exploring task, not daily, but is to dip and dig into my own thoughts. Because it can be a question people can ask themselves or can ask me, like say, do you read your own mind? It's not funny, right? You say you already know your thoughts. Yes, but you've got invisible thoughts, kind of. You've got unconscious thoughts. It's very complex. And it's like a maze, And like sometimes I feel like Alicia in Wonderland, like Fabrice in Wonderland. It's not always Wonderland because the unknown can be scary when you don't know it, but I try to be brave. To be an explorer, you have to be brave and to take some risks. It's in my DNA, like curiosity, to take risks because you're always rewarded.
When you are reading someone's mind, when you're trying to figure out what's going on in their head, how does that information come to you? Is it like an image or a sound or a feeling? Like, how do you get that information?
I guess you just read my mind. Yeah, actually, it can be images, words, numbers, feelings, sensations. I'm a very intuitive person. I was an intuitive boy already. And so I developed the visualization. The most important thing for me is the connection with someone. In my show, for example, connection is essential. And it's very important for me to put some meaning around things too. Maybe unrelated things too, because sometimes you've got symbols coming into your mind. So it's not an exact word because, as I told you, we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And the speed of thoughts is so instantly, so it's very difficult to pick up one word in the flow of the thousand of thoughts, So sometimes it happens, but usually it's a mix, like almost everything. Like there is no just blanc noir. It's not just this or that. It's a mix, a blend of things. Feelings, sensations, images, words, numbers. And as I said, sometimes you've got different elements unrelated and you cannot see the whole picture. But it's like the mosaic, made with 1,000 peaks. The more you're closer, you see, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to zoom in or zoom out to be able to see the full picture.
Yes, and you have to adjust. So it's kind of the same feeling in my mind and in my body. I'm not obsessed as knowing what's happening. It's just coming to me and I let it go. I'm very confident. So I let it go and I let myself give me the whole picture. Little by little, of course.
Is Paris the most romantic city in the world? Host Lily Heisey answers this very question in her podcast, Romancing in Paris, which takes you through the city, arrondissement by arrondissement, by exploring the most romantic and hidden spots Paris has to offer. Listen now to Romancing in Paris on parisundergroundradio.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be right back with City of Muses after a word from our sponsors. And now, back to City of Muses on Paris Underground Radio. I read everything that you sent me, so I know that you've done studies in all different sorts of fields. How much of this is really just you getting out of your own way and not overthinking and just letting these things come?
Well, as I told you, it's a blend, a mix of things. It's like opening a door, a gateway. So once the door is open and I'm in the garden, now I'm going to explore the garden. So I'm going to look on the right side and I'm going to see a tree and I say, oh, this tree is orange. Why? Oh, orange means whatever. So actually we're talking about time. And when I'm on stage, time is so different. You know, in a blink of an eye, 1.5 hours is like, for me, it's like 15 minutes maybe, or I don't quantify it, but time is relative.
Because you're in the moment.
Yes, yeah. Very important. And especially because you have so many people in the audience. So you have to be so focused on the person you're doing the mind reading effect with, because a lot of information are coming from everyone and from everywhere, and to set aside things and to be able to deliver something with credibility and something meaningful to the person. To answer your question, the work is done before. I'm cleaning myself every day, not just having a shower, but mentally speaking too. So it's a daily work, and I insist on the word work because it's cleaning my thoughts, my emotions, and my actions to be aligned, to be coherent, to have congruence, you know, a harmony, to be able to feel what I need to feel in the right moment, and to be able to use the information I can receive. Because as I told you, sometimes you've got a drawing coming to your mind, let's say a horse, and you can say to the person, are you a professional equestrian or do you have a horse or whatever? But maybe a horse is noble. It's pure. It's got some characteristics. So maybe it's just that the person is like a horse in his behavior. So I have to interpret really quickly the information that I receive. And that's why I say I have to take risks, because I don't have so much time to think. And usually intuition comes quickly and before the thoughts themselves. So that's why you can perceive a thought, but the interpretation of the thought can be physical, can be an image, can be, as I told you, a word, or just I let myself speak usually. You know, it's like a direct atom link with the person, because we're all atoms and we're linked together with a kind of energy. There is like a connection everywhere. Universe is energy. So yes, I trust myself and I take risks. Saying before thinking. That will be my intuition way of delivering mind reading on stage.
So are there certain people that are easier or harder to read?
I guess it depends more on my state than the other person.
Really?
Yes, because it's like a lie detector. For example, in one of my shows, not the last one, but one of my shows, I use a very fun lie detector. And people told me, you will see that Americans are very expensive, or some British like say, oh my God, I can't believe that, and whatever. And you say it's easier. And with Asian or other kind of people, multiculturalism, but no, it doesn't work this way, because if you don't want to move to lie, for example, you're going to tell me that you're lying because we don't have an on-off button. We just have to press to change everything and to control everything, because you cannot control all your mind and body. For example, if you remember Lie to Me, based on Dr. Paul Ekman, it was a lie detector and it was about micro expressions. So if I know where to look, when to look, what and how to listen, I will know who is the liar among 10 people. And around 100 performances, I guess I was wrong once.
Wow. I was going to ask you about cultural differences as well, because, and I had the same thought in my mind. Americans are more expressive, or you think of Italians. And I know that you've done your show in many different countries, including Russia. I imagine Russians are far less expressive. So I was wondering if there are like specific cultural differences in these sorts of things, or is it always the same kinds of micro expressions because we're just people.
Yes, because emotions are universal. So it's a transcendence, but we've got cultural nuances, like expressing love. Love is universal, but you will have one way or another way to express it if you live in one country or another one because of the cultural nuances you can have.
When you tell people in your day-to-day regular life that you are a mentalist, how do they react to you?
How do you know I tell people I'm a mentalist?
Well, you told me.
Did I tell you I tell people I'm a mentalist?
No, but it is what you do when you have this poster up, and I'm sure people say, "Hey, Fabrice, what are you up to?" And you say, "I'm a mentalist. I have a show coming up." You must.
I may say I'm a sentimentalist too, to play with words.
Do you keep it a secret?
No, but with time I learned, because I do many things. I'm a coach, I do training for companies, for mental training, for managers and salesmen, and training about emotional intelligence. So actually, it depends where I go and the person I'm with. Now I try not to say directly, "Hi, I'm a mentalist." But it depends. If I want to have fun, if I want to surprise people, if I want, but if it's like a business kind of meeting, or I'm just introduced to people, I'm just saying I'm a coach or I'm a trainer, or it depends. Really, it's my feeling. I'm very used to behaving according to the way I feel in the moment, in the present moment you mentioned before. But the reaction are different. Because sometimes people still don't know what a mentalist is. Other times it's like, oh my God, I love that. It's so, wow. Can you show me something? Or do you know what I'm thinking right now? And my answer could be different. I tell you, I'm not anticipating things. I'm a training actor too. So I'm used to improvising. And the last time I was asked that question, precisely, I answer back, "If you don't know what you're thinking, I guess you may think of seeing a shrink." So
there's a TV show in the US called The Mentalist. Are you aware of this television show?
Yes. It helped a lot when I started.
That's how I discovered what mentalism was through this TV show.
Yeah, and that was the first known mentalist with such charm, with French car, an old suit, and the only difference is that I don't need cadavers to mentalism.
Good. That's good. But I was going to ask you about charm. Do you think that charm is important to being a good mentalist?
I could say yes. I could say no. I could say yes and no. Because I'm a performer. And as performers, consciously or unconsciously, we have to seduce in a good way the audience we're with. So I would go with yes, if you agree on the word charming, or to be charming.
Well, I was thinking also about, you have a show about Arsène Lupin. And Lupin is a criminal. He's a bad guy, but we all love him because he's so charming. Especially Omar Sy, who's just fabulous. He's charming. So I was wondering how much charm played into mentalism, because you must in some way, I was going to say you must need to have like complicity. You must need the person with you to sort of want to be in on it as well, but you don't have to if you're catching people in lies. So maybe I'm wrong about that.
You're right. And actually very good, because Lupin is the best example of being charming, because the word criminal sounds very strong, but he's never killed anyone. He's just a thief. He's the prince of thieves in the books, So he's elegant. He's the French, charming, stylish monsieur living in Paris and helping people. And he steals only the rich people and the bad ones. So he's not going to steal an innocent person or a good person. So, it's his way of making good around him. And he's very clever. He's have a wide culture, and charm is in his DNA. Yes. To be able to change appearances, because he's got 1,000 faces and nobody knows who he really is. So yeah, he has to use charm with the person he wants to steal. For complicity, for being very close to them, for knowing their habits, but with women also, because he's a very charming and gentleman. Actually, the first book is called Gentleman Cambrioleur. So yes, charming is important in what I do for establishing a complicity, but I'm very natural and spontaneous. So I'm not thinking too much about how I have to behave or whatever. I put the seeds and the ingredients in my mind, and my natural way is benevolent. So I guess maybe I'm charming unconsciously without knowing it a little bit.
And you coach as well, and I think you teach these skills. I mean, something like emotional intelligence, which I know is important to you. That I imagine is something you can teach, but I don't know if you can teach charm. So are there people that are more or less teachable?
Like Dr. Hitch maybe in another life. But Will Smith did it so well, and it would be difficult to be like him. It's not my aim at all, it's especially for the corporate world. It's very important to share knowledge about convincing and influencing people. So, of course, you have to be charming when you want to sell something. But as for me, it's very more important to be genuine, to be authentic, because everyone can have a sixth sense, more or less developed. But I guess the nature of selling is not lying or being like a cheating person for achieving it, but on the contrary, to use very positive attitude towards the client, the customer, and, change the vision you have about the perspective of sellings or being a manager with your teams. It's for motivation. It's not just for selling, it's for a state of mind. And I like to share my techniques and my knowledge about that for them to grow and to make grow their teams, their companies, and the people around them. Because when you learn a skill or a competence, something very useful in your daily life, it's not just in your professional environment, but with yourself, with others, in your personal life too.
So I read that you can guess a memory or a product in a catalog or a phone number or the lottery, these sorts of things. Is it something that you need to do in person?
Well, now with the internet, the question is a bit different, or the answer may be different, because I can do mind reading through videos. Zoom, you remember when the COVID appeared? We stopped the shows, so I had to find another way to do show. And when I did shows on Zoom, for example, I could do exactly the same thing, but it was not a nice feeling because I couldn't feel the audience close to me. Even if sometimes I do show for 1,000 people, you still are in the same room. So you can feel the energy, I'm not saying that you don't feel the energy of a person who is in the States or in Australia or in Japan right now, but it's another feeling. It's another, you're through an electronic connection. So I prefer the human being connection in the same environment. Yes, energy is very important.
Are you a book lover who's always looking for the next best book? Or an avid reader who'd love the chance to ask their favorite author a question? Well, then you might like my other podcast, Storytime in Paris, where I interview writers with a French connection, with questions that come from you, the author's fans and followers. Then, the authors treat us to a reading from their books. Listen now to Storytime in Paris on parisundergroundradio.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be right back with City of Muses after a word from our sponsors. And now, back to City of Muses on Paris Underground Radio. Do you have to have a visual contact as well? Like, could you do it over a phone call?
Yeah, not necessarily. Because sometimes just the voice itself is enough for me to have an information about how is the person, the way the person thinks. Because, once again, it's about energy and vibration. So, the voice can be one, a gesture can be another. When I do the lie detector, for example, you can have people saying no, others say mm-mm. Or maybe one person is not going to answer anything at all, just moving the head. And it can be enough to know who is the liar.
Do you think that actors make for better liars?
I have to call my lawyer to answer that question.
I didn't mean you as an actor.
Yeah, I know. I know what you're thinking.
Well, I was just thinking, I've trained as an actor, and if you were to ask me if I were a liar, and I know some of the signs you're meant to look out for, could I fool you by, I guess, fooling myself? I don't know. Do actors make better liars?
Actually, for me, an actor is super authentic because you have to enter yourself to be a character, someone else. Otherwise, you're too full of yourself to have credibility being someone else. So when they say actors are liars, it's very easy for them, etc. I would add nuances to that. Of course, it's easier for actors to slip into someone else, mimetic, to use techniques, emotions, because we have to know how to control emotions too, how to behave, how to be silent, how to use words, how to connect to someone else, and to have credibility incarning someone else. But for me, it's not lying because we really are the character, the other person when we're doing it, when we're acting. But I guess the techniques, the acting skills, if someone wants to lie better, could be a plus.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think that the best actors, I'm glad you said what you said, actually, because I think that the best actors are channels. They're conduits. They're not putting themselves in the character. They're letting it flow through them. But I also agree that maybe if you learned these techniques, you could be a good liar in your
yes.
in real life. So I want to talk to you about the show that you have coming up at the end of March. Can you tell me what it is and what it's all about and what we can expect?
Yes, I'm very excited about it. It's a unique revolutionary concept, I guess, because it's combining my patient's mentalism theater around a story with the best backdrop ever for me, which is Paris. I wanted to share with people Paris in another way, in a different way, the mysterious side of Paris, because Paris dazzles what we don't know normally about what happened in the past. Paris is a magical city, with a special state of mind, a special attitude. And I wanted to go beyond appearances. And I wanted to propose this show for the English-speaking audience, because in Paris, you don't have a lot of opportunities to enjoy a show in English. Maybe a one-man show, as we said, stand-up comedy. But there is no show about Paris, in English. So I decided to stay in 2024 in Paris for a year at least and stop my shows abroad for focusing on this new perspective I have, and I'm very excited about it to share that with people. And after that, I would like to go worldwide with the show. So if people want to see Paris in any country in the world, I can bring Paris to them. So they don't have to come to Paris. So that's the two purposes about it. And the show itself, it's about exploring places, the rich history of Paris, the essence of Paris. And as Victor Hugo said, to breathe Paris is to preserve the soul. So I guess that the mix of elegance, mysteries, unusual anecdotes, humor and love will be a good blend for this new show. And the romantic and enigmatic atmosphere will do the rest. I'm not going to say more about it, but I would like people to savor it like a good meal, a wine or chocolate with a lot of surprises. It will be an interactive show and a very entertaining experience, and I hope unforgettable.
I know you said you don't want to give too much away about your show, but can you give us a little idea of what people can expect?
Well, it's an immersive experience about the mysteries of the mind in Paris, where the impossible is very close to the possible. It's a unique experience, interactive, fun, and fascinating, I hope, with mind-blowing effects, with unique stories, and tailored mind-reading effects. That's very important to me. So when you come to my show, you're not going to see, to watch, to feel what you could have or what you could feel in another mind-reading shows, because everything is tailored for that purpose. So we're waiting for a memorable experience, wonder and excitement, And I will challenge perception and question boundaries too, and add some connection and meaning.
Very intriguing. Where can people learn more about the show? How can they get tickets? Where should we direct them?
You can find information at ferrafabrice.com and Instagram, Facebook, etc., etc.
Perfect. I will include links to all of that so that people can get to you quickly and easily and sell out all of your shows. We'll take it worldwide. Thank you so much, Fabrice. It's been so wonderful talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for listening to City of Muses. If you've liked what you heard, please take a moment to rate and review it. This is the fastest and easiest way to help support the podcast. Tell a friend who could use a little inspiration. You can also subscribe to the Paris Underground Radio newsletter over on our website, parisundergroundradio.com, which comes out every Sunday and gives a little peek into what's on the network for the week ahead. I'm your host, Jennifer Garrity. You can find me on all socials at Jennyphoria. That's JennyPhoria. Thank you for listening, and may you find inspiration wherever you go. City of Muses was produced by Jennifer Garrity for Paris Underground Radio.